Like, why is it so hard to meet somebody? I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50 in April. I've honestly been single for probably about maybe 14, 15 years. And that doesn't mean that I haven't had friends with benefits or dated people or, talked to people. But like a relationship, I've been single. And that's my choice. It's by choice because it's going to take somebody real special to date me. I'm not one of them ones. Like, I'm not putting up with shit.
What's good, everybody? It is your man here, the Todd voice, back with another YouTube video. Earlier I was thinking about something. Before I made this video, I was thinking some of the best people I know are single. Not toxic, not selfish, not people out here playing games with everybody they met, just good, everyday people. People who would give you the shirt off of their back, basically. They've raised families, worked hard, paid bills, took care of their parents, tried to do life the right way. So how did we get here? How do so many people end up sitting at home wondering if they'll ever find somebody again? And I think they're answering the wrong question. They keep asking what's wrong over people over 50. Maybe the better question is what happened to them. Because I don't believe most people over 50 are just simply bad partners. I think that life has a way of changing people. Here's some things that have changed. Divorce after 50 has more than doubled since the 1990s. And for people over 65, it's triple. Call it the Great Divorce. Think about that for a minute. That's millions of people who thought they already found the person they were going to grow old with. Millions of them. People who weren't expecting to start over. People who weren't planning on downloading dating apps in their 50s and 60s. People who thought they already crossed that finish line, and then life happens. And when life happens, it leaves marks. Some people lost marriages, spouses, parents, taking years, taking care of their families, and looked up one day and realized the house was quiet. You don't walk away from those experiences as the same person. You just don't. You built yourself up. Experience is one of the greatest teachers we will ever have. And this is a lesson that no one ever warned you about. Experience doesn't only teach wisdom, but it also teaches caution. It teaches you to notice the little things and pay attention to the red flags. It teaches you to protect your finances. It teaches you to protect your heart. And after enough disappointment, protecting yourself is normal. That's not weakness, that's survival. And another statistic that really caught my attention was that according to research, about half single adults over 50 are not looking for relationships. And by the time you hit 65 and older, the number jumps roughly 3 out of 4 people. That's crazy. The biggest problem may not be that people can't find someone. The biggest problem probably is that they decided that it's not worth trying anymore. And I understand why. When you've spent years building a peaceful life, that becomes very important. You become more selective. You don't want drama. You don't want chaos. You don't want nobody to come in turning your life upside down. And there's nothing wrong with that, but here's the question. Is it possible that some of us have gotten so good at protecting our peace that we have accidentally blocked our happiness too? That's the question right there, because walls don't just keep the wrong people out. Sometimes they keep the right people out too, So I think that people stay single because, let me say it again. I don't think people stay single because they don't have anything to offer. I think that they're just hurt and don't want to gamble the life that they've, worked so hard to build. And I don't blame them, but I also don't want us to reach a point where fear makes every decision for us, because there's a difference between being careful and being closed. There's a difference between having standards and expecting perfection. There's a difference between protecting your peace and convincing yourself that you don't need nobody ever again. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe being a good person is never stop mattering. Kindness matters. Loyalty matters. The challenge is making sure that the pain from yesterday doesn't dictate what your tomorrow looks like. So I really wonder what you guys think about this. Let's talk.
I've honestly been single for probably about maybe 14, 15 years. And that doesn't mean that I haven't had friends with benefits or dated people or, talked to people. But like a relationship, I've been single. And that's my choice. It's by choice because it's going to take somebody real special to date me. I'm not one of them ones. Like, I'm not putting up with shit. What I will take is respect, honesty, compassion, non-judgmental. Like, you have to really be that or that person. Because I've dated outside my race. You have to be a very strong man to deal with me. I'm not the dominant one. I have dominant qualities, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a very dominant person. I don't need to be in control of everything, but I don't think my person is in this area. I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's in another state, another city, another country. I don't know. It's just, you would think at my age, at 50, the men would be totally different. Like, I'm assuming men are more mature, done with cheating, looking for a little settled down in life, just not lying. Like, why are we lying? Like, why do you have to lie? It's just, I don't understand. Why is it so hard? Remember back when I was like 19, 20, in my teens, 20s, early, 30s, you meet people at the bar, at the club, which is not always the best, but it just was like you can meet somebody, somebody will buy you a drink, y'all sit there and talk. You, outside the club at night, you talk to somebody leaning up against a car. Those were the good old days when music was playing, it was cool, nice summer evening. You could be walking to the store down the street from your crib. You could be sitting on your stoop. You could be, walking, standing on the corner of the street with your friends. You could just be talking and somebody pull up, hey, shorty, what's up? Where you going? Whoop-de-whoop. Stuff like that, It's a little corny, but it happens. You could see somebody, know somebody in your neighborhood and be like, oh, yeah, who's that? Like, hook me up. I mean, there's just ways that you could talk to people that you can't talk to people like that when you're in your 50s. Maybe you can. Maybe I just don't feel like I can. I just feel like the respect from older men is not there. And I'm at the period of my life where I just want somebody to be with. I'm not trying to be what somebody else wants me to be. I am who I am, and they'd have to accept that. I'm a beautiful soul. I'm a very good person. I'm not talking about outside. I'm talking about inside. I'm a great person inside.
I think in these cases, you can always go outside and meet people. You can't stay in the house. There was something I was thinking about recently about COVID, how it changed everybody's perspective on what they need to do with themselves. For myself personally, I didn't want to go out the house. I wanted to stay. I got used to staying in the house, and that wore me down, realizing that the sunshine is everything. You got to get out in the sun. You got to get out and meet people and see people and recreate the things that you like to do, and maybe you'll meet somebody while you're doing those things. I think that's the best thing to do when we get to an older age, because otherwise you're just going to sit around, think, and rot. And you don't want that.
Watching the whole room. The men, the women, and their demeanor, and it was pretty packed, and there was enough of each age group to be able to just kind of watch their interaction. And I was literally flabbergasted. You got all these girls, in all different age groups, and then you got all these men in all different age groups, and nobody talks to nobody. Like, meaning no men talk to the women. Is there a reason for that? Like, when I dated younger, before I got married 30 something years ago, men used to talk to women. Men used to hang around with women. Now you got all the women in one area, and you got all the men in the other area, and you got all the men gawking at all the women, and you got all the women gawking at all the men, but nobody approaches anybody. But yet, well, I shouldn't say nobody. I did see more women approaching men. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I still think a man should approach a woman. That's just me. I mean, to each his own. I have nothing against a woman who approaches a man. And I might still approach a man if I find them showing interest and kind of, smiling and starting looking like they want to start a conversation. You know what I mean. But why are the men just standing there with their drinks in their hands, looking like they want to dance, and standing there like they're almost dancing, but yet won't approach a girl and ask her to dance? Is there a reason for that?
I don't think the men are stop finding women attractive or anything like that. I think just a lot of guys are like, the risk isn't worth it. You know, between dating apps, fear of rejection, seeing videos online where men are embarrassed simply for saying hello, a lot of them have decided that it's safer just to stay quiet and enjoy the view. And the results of men just aren't approaching women. And women are wondering where have all the good men went, and everybody ends up frustrated. I think everybody's just become a little bit more cautious, or men have just become a little bit more cautious and maybe a little bit scared.